The Premier League is back after an international break that saw a lot of big news, not necessarily on-field related, but off-field related. We'll be talking about that when we get to that point. But right now, we have to start with the big game of the weekend. It's table-topping Liverpool taking on Chelsea at Anfield, a rivalry that you and I we've grown accustomed to thanks to
Yeah.
Jose Mourinho and Rafa Benitez, and then Jurgen Klopp and Thomas Tuchel, and a lot more. But this is something that we spoke about a long time back. Also, it's like two teams with new managers trying to stamp their authority, and it's worked to an extent. We know how Liverpool play, how Arne Slot has set up. The results are there. We're top of the table, although we haven't faced a difficult side in the Premier League. Chelsea, for their matter, uh, you lost, I think, the opening game of the season to Manchester City, but after that,
Yeah.
you guys have looked like a very decent unit, apart from that draw against Forest, which was
hmm
a little unexpected, but still credit to Enzo Maresca. He's got you guys playing in a certain style. You guys are scoring goals for fun, and I think we should all start with Cole Palmer. Uh, he's
Yeah.
been he's carried on from last season, so even a new manager coming in hasn't affected him. I think he's the most informed player in the Premier League right now. And I am actually expecting a lot of goals in this game. What do you think?
Let's see, man. It's Lion versus Liverpool, right?
Yeah, Lionel.
Basically. We'll see what happens, right? The fact that you brought up Cole Palmer, let's talk about this first, right? So I think Chelsea's biggest threat obviously is going to be Cole Palmer, but a couple of other supporting cast members with Cole Palmer is Noni Madueke, who's been doing really well, and Nicholas Jackson. So I was just looking at it. Cole Palmer and Noni Madueke have basically created 15 chances for each other in the Premier League, right? The most for any duo.
Wow.
So I think they complement each other really well. Madueke is somebody who likes to dribble, who likes to drive with the ball, and Palmer obviously is very smart. He's got an eye for a pass, and of course he can score. And if you add to that Nicholas Jackson, it makes a pretty decent front three. So let's see what happens. But just to still give some perspective, we've had a decent start under Enzo Maresca, but I think Opta is giving us a very slim chance of winning. 19.4%, with Liverpool being given 60% probability of winning. And I think the middle is essentially the draw, right? Because I think you guys have had a big advantage over us over the last 5-10 years. Because we've talked about this in other podcasts, Liverpool has just been a better run club than Chelsea. And we have a couple of people, critical people who are out, right? Cucurella is out because I think he got 5 yellow cards, and Wesley Fofana, he's also a very critical centre back for us. He's out as well. We'll see what happens there, but I think you guys are the firm favorites.
I find that to be a little surprising though, because we like the last game against Wolves, right? We didn't look that good. We were kind of lucky to get the 1-0 win. I think it or 2-1 win. Sorry, it was a 2-1 win. And Chelsea always seem to score. So
Mhm.
uh, I think it's actually more likely to end as a draw rather than us winning, because I think a lot of the matches that we played in recent years and
Recently,
seasons,
yeah, have
yeah,
been
yeah,
draws. Yeah.
and it's gonna draw. So I think it'll be a high scoring draw. Obviously, I'd like to win. Obviously, you'd like to win also, but that's not going to happen. But I really want to see how Maresca and Slot line up,
Yeah.
because that's like two of the smartest managers, new age managers, new thinking, new philosophy, going up against each other, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out with the win. Uh,
Yeah.
maybe Chelsea cut down the lead on Liverpool, or maybe Liverpool extend the lead. But it's nice. It's fun. It's going to be a fun game.
I think regardless, it's going to be a good litmus test, right? Like you said, just to see where the teams and these managers stand. The other thing is, either ways, I'm not going to have a knee-jerk reaction. I think it's going to be the same for you, right? Because you have to give these managers time. You've got to give them, time to bed in their ideas. So you guys have obviously had a great start, and Chelsea have as well, right? I was expecting us to be languishing somewhere mid-table. We're in top four. So I think the main thing is whichever way it goes, not to have a knee-jerk reaction. My prediction for this is probably going to be maybe a 2-1 win for Liverpool, maybe through a Van Dijk header, just like you guys won the League Cup against us, because Chelsea are a bit weak when it comes to headers and being able to win aerial duels. And you guys with Konate and Van Dijk have two gigantic centre backs who are also really good at scoring goals. So that's my prediction: 2-1 win to Liverpool. What about you? What do you think is going to happen?
So yeah, like I said, I think it's going to be a really fun game. I think it's going to be an enjoyable game. I'm
Hmm.
still predicting a high scoring draw because the last time when we returned from the international break, we were very lethargic against Nottingham Forest, and they beat us at
Hmm.
Anfield, the only game where we've actually lost points. Now, Arne, this is the fun thing. I like Arne Slot because he keeps these things in his mind. I'm sure in the pre-match presser, he'll again bring up the loss to Forest. He's done this almost before every game out there. So I don't expect that kind of performance, a flat performance again. But I just think that Chelsea are also a decent side, and we haven't looked that great sometimes in defense. So I'm expecting a score draw. And the bigger blow for us is that we don't have Allison. He's still out for a long time. So
Yep.
Kelleher's back. He's, I think, the best number two goalkeeper in the Premier League, but he's no Allison. And
Hmm.
yeah, I think there could be fireworks in this game. I really hope for a really good match.
Yep. Let's see. Let's see.
Yeah. So that's one part of the thing that we wanted to talk about. Then the other part is I alluded to at the start of the podcast is off-field stuff. So Manchester United against Brentford. We keep talking about Manchester United and whether Erik Ten Hag will get the sack or not. This game is 14th against 10th, and United is not 10th; they are 14th. Uh, this, yeah, so I just had to put this out. The Brentford's better than United right now. It's crazy what's going on. Midweek during the international break, you had, I think, Bruno Fernandes coming out and almost criticizing what's going on at United and Ten Hag. Then you got news about Ineos making more cuts and Sir Alex Ferguson getting the boot as the what was he? He was their ambassador. So
Ambassador, yeah.
so I read more into this, and it seems like this was a mutual decision taken by them. It's not like Ineos fired him. So that's a mutual thing. He's still part of the system somehow. I think he's still involved in some of the running or some of the decision making, or maybe he's on the board. But yeah, he's not the ambassador anymore. And then to kick United fans further down, uh, Thomas Tuchel was announced as the England manager, which
Hmm.
I want to just deal with this before I talk about United. And there's been this huge outcry in the English press. Oh, we need somebody who's an Englishman, and an Englishman should only manage this. And this makes absolutely zero sense to me because you've had Fabio Capello as the England manager, you've had Sven Göran Eriksson as the England manager. Uh, they, so they've never won anything, right? Under English managers or even them. So from the list of managers that England had, right? Thomas Tuchel was the one who's had the most success. He's been a success at every club he's been at. Chelsea, Munich, Borussia Dortmund, and PSG. That's a pretty stellar CV. And the funny part is when they talk about, we need an Englishman leading an England side, the top managers in the Premier League are all non-English. And frankly
Yep.
speaking, if a Jurgen Klopp, a Zinedine Zidane, a Pep Guardiola was available to manage England, would they actually say no? It baffles
No.
me.
I think Gary Neville just wanted to be the manager. I think
Yeah,
they
he
could
was
have
a
just
manager at
appointed.
Valencia and he got lost like 7, 8 games in a row. He
Oh man.
so
I think we definitely will have a deeper dive into Tuchel being appointed. I think Adim, you and me, we both echo the same sentiments. He's a good appointment. He's really good, especially knockout competitions, and let's see what he does. But then coming back to Man United, that further reduces their options, right? So who's left? Maybe Southgate is the only one left if Ten Hag doesn't survive. But a couple of metrics that I wanted to talk about, right? Interesting kind of underlying metrics. You said that United were 14th, but I just looked at it, and United have actually been underperforming their expected goals by like 5 goals. They've scored 5 less goals than what they were expected to score. And when it comes to the other side, right, they have conceded actually less number of goals than they were expected to concede. So on the striker side of things, they're underperforming, but at least on the defensive side of things, Onana, for all his
yeah.
criticism, is actually doing good, right? So let's see. These underlying metrics are interesting. Maybe if Onana can keep up his heroics while they start finishing some chances, they can creep up the table. Another good thing about United is Brentford's away form has been pretty dismal. They have been scoring a goal in the first 2 minutes, but they have lost all three of their away games this season. So let's see what happens. My money is on Brentford scoring again within the first 2 minutes because they seem to have worked out some routine, right? And against like a United side who might be a little fragile. I mean, my money is on Brentford scoring, but I think United should get over the line here and give Ten Hag, some more time to, do his whatever he does.
So speaking of that, I think we need to also keep an eye out on the lineup that Ten Hag picks. Because in the game
Agreed.
before the Premier League break, the international break, sorry, he basically benched all the players he had signed. Like Lisandro Martinez was on the bench, and a few others from Ajax, like Lilith and all, were on the bench. So maybe we'll have to see who he picks. But yeah, if United lose, the pressure is going to be crazy on him. And yeah, and you're right. I mean, who else will they get? Southgate himself has said that he wants to return later next year, I think. So
Mhm.
yeah, I mean,
Basically, he stays no matter what.
yeah. So I think another season of Ten Hag, as long as they don't get
Yeah.
relegated, maybe he'll keep the job. Uh, we got to talk about the other side of Manchester. That's Manchester City. Uh, they So it's very strange as to how Manchester City are playing. They're close to the top of the league. They're 1 point behind Liverpool. Yet, when you look at the games, right, they're not dominating teams that they used to.
No.
Even
Yep.
the game, it was against Fulham, which
Yep. 3-2 it ended.
they probably should have drawn or lost it had Adama Traore decided to score or learn how to score or just shown that he's a basic footballer. But it's very strange as to what's going on with City, especially with the charges of the 115 uh, issues or the 115 charges that have been there for a long time. But I was looking at the stats that you provided, like everything points to City getting an easy win at the Etihad over the Wolves. They're unbeaten in
Yep.
30 Premier League games. This is their joint longest run in the competition. City, not Wolves. And Opta is like giving them almost a 70% chance of winning. And Wolves are rock bottom. I mean, they
Yeah.
are they're in a bad position, but then you look at the teams that they played, right? And that's crazy. Like they I think played most of the top teams. So this seems like another slam dunk for Manchester City, unless uh, Wolves literally pull a rabbit out of their hat.
Yeah, I don't see that, right? It should be a pretty easy win for City, and maybe the Wolves manager's job might be on the line, right?
Mhm.
7 games gone with only a solitary point on board. That's basically, setting yourself up for relegation pretty early on in the season. Let's see what happens, but I don't see any hope for Wolves. City should, win this easily and keep up in the race for the Premier League title.
Yeah. And the final team that's in the race for the Premier League title, at least for now, is Arsenal. They travel to the Vitality to take on Bournemouth. A Bournemouth side that actually plays some really good football. And that shows in the stats because Opta has given them like a 53% chance of winning. So obviously, it's not like 47% is for Bournemouth winning. Obviously, there's the draw. But Arsenal have looked good. Also, they've looked a little shaky from time to time, but they have continued the form from last season. I think both of us have picked them to win the Premier League. And, they look really good. Uh, Bournemouth will actually be a tough test for them, but I still see Arsenal getting the win, especially with the form of Bukayo Saka there. And also the defense is so good. Like I'm pretty sure they'll score a goal from a free kick or a
Yeah.
corner or something.
Yep. I think one of the stats that Opta has brought out for this game is Bournemouth are on the top of the list when it comes to giving over high turnovers, and Arsenal do press high and they can win the ball back pretty easily. So again, that's a bad combination to be giving the ball away so often and facing Arsenal there, and then he's coming out, right? Uh, Havertz, I just saw a piece by the Premier League themselves saying that Havertz is arguably the most rounded center forward in the league right now, right? And he's backing it up with goals and assists, and also the fact that he works really hard. So I think Arsenal should have an easy win, and I think this is going to be their 2000th win. Interestingly, the only team who has had more than 2,000 wins in
In
this
the top
Premier
flight.
League era is, I think, yeah, top flight is Liverpool
Yeah.
with 2,065. So, Liverpool, Arsenal, these are the giants of the game, the traditional giants. They're following each other's footsteps. But I think, again, this should be a pretty easy win for Arsenal. Let's see what happens, other if there's an upset somewhere hidden there.
Yeah. And we'd like to talk about a couple of other games before we wrap up this week's preview show. Villa versus Fulham at Craven Cottage. I think the only thing we want to talk about here is Jhon Duran at least going to score a crazy goal from outside the box. Duran's stock is just rising incredibly.
Yeah.
I like.
He scored in the international break as well for Colombia.
Why am I not surprised? So, Jhon Duran against Fulham. It's at Craven Cottage though, and Villa. I think last time around they didn't look that good.
I think they got a draw in the
They got a
last
draw,
game,
right?
right? With
Yeah.
with Man United. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
Man
yeah.
United
So that,
though.
oh my God, yeah, that was one of the worst games I've watched in a long time. Hopefully it's not going to be like that. Fulham do like to play some good football. Villa do play good football as well. So we could see a lot of goals, but I think we can make a bet that if Jhon Duran starts or plays in the game, he will score a goal.
Yeah, 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 for sure. And I think Aston Villa, if they win against Fulham, and most likely Chelsea is not going to beat Liverpool, they'll usurp Chelsea's top four position. So that's additional motivation for them, right?
Oh yeah, 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 that's big. And we also want to talk about the final game that we think is important. That's Tottenham versus West Ham. It's at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Uh, a little strange because Tottenham have been good and bad this season. They lost the last
Yeah.
game before the international break. When before that they had won the last two games. Uh, I don't understand. So we spoke about this the last time also that Ange Postecoglou should take some of the blame for some of the performances that Spurs put out because he sticks to this philosophy and sometimes it doesn't work out for them. Uh, do you think he's going to do something a little different because
No, so that's why
yeah,
that's the reason why I put it in there, the talking point, right? It's going to be interesting to see what the Postecoglou does, right? Because we all know the way West Ham like to play. They like to play on the counter, right? Lopetegui might have changed their style around, but if they decide to, keep a low block and hit them on a counter, and Postecoglou plays into their hands, that's going to be a repeat of last week of
yeah,
them blowing a lead against Brighton. And I was watching one of his interviews, I think with Sky Sports or somebody, and he said, "Yeah, mate, I want to play the way I want to play, mate. I don't want to do what other people expect me to do, mate." Like, yeah, sure, play the way you want to play, but also have a plan B, also have some strategy and tactics where you analyze the opposition. Let's see what happens. I don't think just playing a single way with the squad that Tottenham have is going to lead him to any major success, right? The sooner he realizes, the better. But he doesn't seem like a person who realizes that or is going to realize that anytime soon.
it'll be interesting to see how that goes. That's it for this week's preview. Do drop a comment, share, a like, and subscribe to our channel. Uh, and we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye.